You have to stop living in the past. Let go of everything that is in the past. It is in the past for a reason. You need to understand that. It is in the past for a reason. It already happened and you cannot let it happen again. And the way that you can start doing this is by, yes, recognizing your past, but not allowing it to be rewritten. Meaning, if there's a certain thing that happened in your past, as in somebody hurt you, or you did some harm ways to yourself and to your life, you need to make sure that, yes, you reevaluate that and you turn it into something better in the future by not letting it happen again.
Before we dive into today's essay, I want you to ask yourself, what's one moment from your past that you find yourself thinking about over and over again? The human mind possesses a peculiar and often destructive talent, the ability to transform the irreversible past into a living, breathing present reality. We carry yesterday's conversations, last year's failures, and decade-old disappointments as if they were happening right now, allowing events that no longer exist to dictate how we experience the only moment that actually matters, this one. Most of us live as prisoners of our own memories, trapped in mental time machines that only travel backward. We replay scenes from our personal histories with the obsessive dedication of a film editor who can never quite get the final cut right. Each replay promises resolution, understanding, or closure, yet delivers only the familiar ache of regret and the bitter taste of what if. This imprisonment of the mind isn't just unproductive, it's the theft of life itself. Every moment spent mentally residing in yesterday is a moment of today that vanishes unlived, unnoticed, and unexperienced. The present becomes merely a backdrop for the past's endless reruns, a stage where we perform the same tragic soliloquies about chances missed and words unspoken. The river of change reality operates on a simple but profound principle. Everything flows, everything changes, and nothing remains static. The world you inhabited yesterday no longer exists, and neither does the person who lived in it. Each moment brings new circumstances, new opportunities, and new versions of yourself. Yet our minds cling to outdated snapshots of reality as if they were eternal truths. This creates a fundamental disconnect between how life actually works and how we experience it. We treat our past selves as if they were our current selves, our former circumstances as if they were present conditions, and our historical limitations as if they were permanent constraints. We live in a house of mirrors where yesterday's reflections distort today's possibilities. The tragedy isn't just that we miss the present moment, it's that we actively choose the phantom of memory over the substance of reality. We become archaeologists of our own lives, endlessly excavating and examining artifacts from our personal past, while the living world around us remains unexplored. The irony is devastating. In our desperate attempt to hold on to life through memory, we stop living it entirely. The neuroscience of now. Modern neuroscience supports what ancient wisdom traditions have long taught. Our brains are remarkably plastic, constantly rewiring themselves based on our thoughts and experiences. When we repeatedly revisit past events, we're literally strengthening the neural pathways associated with those memories while weakening our capacity to engage fully with present experiences. Dr. Judson Brewer's research on addiction and mindfulness reveals that our brains are wired to seek patterns and create narratives about our experiences. This served our ancestors well when they needed to remember which plants were poisonous or where predators lurked. But in our modern world, this same mechanism often traps us in cycles of rumination that serve no productive purpose. When you replay that embarrassing moment from high school, that relationship that ended badly, or that opportunity you missed, your brain doesn't distinguish between memory and reality. The same stress hormones flood your system, the same emotional responses activate, and your body experiences the past as if it were happening right now. In essence, you're choosing to live the worst moments of your life over and over again. The quicksand of regret. Sarah, a 34-year-old marketing professional, spent 3 years of her life replaying a single conversation with her former boss. She'd been offered a promotion that would have required relocating to another city. Fear of the unknown made her decline, and within 6 months she watched as a less experienced colleague took a similar position and thrived. Every day, Sarah woke up and immediately began the familiar mental routine. What if I had said yes? Where would I be now? How different would my life be? This pattern of thinking didn't just make Sarah unhappy, it paralysed her. When new opportunities arose, she couldn't evaluate them clearly because she was too busy prosecuting herself for past decisions. She was living in a courtroom of her own making, serving as judge, jury and defendant in a case that could never be resolved because the past cannot be changed. Sarah's story isn't unique. We all have our version of this narrative. The road not taken, the words not spoken, the chances not seized. But here's what Sarah discovered, and what you must understand. Every moment spent in the quicksand of regret is a moment not spent building the life you actually want. The philosophical concept of amor fati, love of fate, taught by Friedrich Nietzsche, suggests that we should not merely accept our past but embrace it entirely, including its pain and disappointments. This doesn't mean being grateful for trauma or pretending that bad things were actually good. Instead, it means recognizing that every experience, pleasant or painful, has contributed to making you who you are in this moment, and this moment is where your power lies. The prison of should have, the phrase should have, might be the most destructive weapon we wield against ourselves. I should have studied harder. I should have been more patient. I should have taken that risk. These words create an impossible courtroom where we serve as prosecutor, judge, and defendant simultaneously, trying ourselves for crimes against a perfection that never existed. This retrospective judgment operates on a fundamental logical fallacy. It applies current knowledge to past situations, as if consciousness were reversible and wisdom were transportable through time. The person you were 5 years ago, 5 months ago, or even 5 minutes ago made decisions within the constraints of their knowledge, emotional capacity and circumstances. To judge those decisions by today's standards is to demand the impossible, that your past self should have possessed your present understanding. What makes this internal persecution particularly cruel is its complete futility. Unlike present moment actions, which can create change and generate results, dwelling on past decisions produces nothing except suffering. It's a form of psychological masturbation, intense mental activity that leads nowhere and leaves you depleted rather than fulfilled. Every hour spent in the courtroom of regret is an hour stolen from the construction site of your actual life. Consider Marcus, a 42-year-old father who spent years berating himself for not being more present during his children's early years. He worked long hours, travelled frequently, and often found himself distracted even when physically present. Now that his children were teenagers, he tortured himself with memories of missed bedtime stories and forgotten school events. "I should have been a better father," became his daily mantra. But Marcus's self-flagellation served no one, not him, not his family, and certainly not his relationship with his teenagers who needed their father's attention now, not his guilt about the past. The tragic irony was that his preoccupation with past failures was preventing him from being fully present with his children in the current moment, perpetuating the very pattern he regretted. The illusion of the perfect past. Memory is not a recording device. It's more like a creative writer with a tendency toward dramatic license. Each time we recall an event, we reconstruct it, often adding details that weren't there and omitting others that were. Over time, our memories become less factual accounts, and more emotional interpretations of what happened. This is why nostalgia can be so seductive and so dangerous. We remember the highlights of past experiences while forgetting the mundane moments and daily struggles that made up the majority of those times. The college years we remember so fondly. We've edited out the anxiety about exams, the loneliness of Friday nights spent studying, the uncertainty about the future, the relationship we can't get over. We've forgotten the arguments, the incompatibilities, the reasons it ended in the first place. This selective editing creates what psychologists call rosy retrospection, the tendency to remember past events as more positive than they actually were. When we compare our present reality to these edited memories, our current life inevitably falls short. We're essentially comparing our behind-the-scenes reality to our past highlight reel. The present moment as creative space. Here's the revolutionary truth that changes everything. The present moment isn't just where life happens, it's where life gets created. Every decision you make, every word you speak, every action you take originates in the eternal now. The past provides raw material and context, but it cannot create anything new. It can only offer information. It cannot make choices. Only consciousness operating in the present moment possesses the power of creation. Think of your awareness as a spotlight in a vast theatre. The past is like scenery that's been struck and stored backstage. It may inform the current production, but it's no longer part of the active performance. The present moment is centre stage, where the actual drama of your life unfolds. Yet most of us keep turning our spotlight backward, illuminating empty spaces where old sets used to be, missing the live performance happening right in front of us. This fundamental misallocation of attention represents more than a simple mistake. It's a complete inversion of creative power. Instead of being authors of our present experience, we become historians of our past experiences. Instead of creating new scenes, we endlessly analyze old ones. Instead of writing our story, we become stuck editing chapters that are already finished and can never be changed. The present moment pulses with potential energy. It contains every possibility that could emerge from your current circumstances, every choice available within your present situation, every creative response that might arise from your accumulated wisdom and experience. But this potential remains dormant until you show up to activate it with your full attention and conscious engagement. The practice of presence. Living in the present isn't a destination you arrive at, it's a practice you cultivate. Like any skill, it requires intention, repetition, and patience with yourself as you learn. The goal isn't to never think about the past. That would be neither possible nor desirable. The goal is to develop the awareness to recognize when you're lost in unproductive mental time travel and the ability to return your attention to the present moment. One of the most powerful practices for cultivating presence is what mindfulness teachers call noting. When you notice your mind wandering to the past, you simply note, thinking about the past without judgment, and gently return your attention to what's happening right now. This isn't about suppressing thoughts, it's about changing your relationship with them. Another essential practice is developing what the Zen tradition calls beginner's mind, approaching each moment with fresh eyes, as if experiencing it for the first time. This might seem impossible when you're doing routine activities, but consider how different your morning coffee tastes when you actually pay attention to it, or how much more beautiful your familiar neighborhood looks when you truly see it rather than walking through it on autopilot. The courage to be present. Living in the present requires tremendous courage, because the present moment often contains uncertainty, discomfort, or challenges that we'd rather avoid. The past, despite its pain, offers the false comfort of completion. We know how those stories end. The present offers no such certainty. It demands that we face reality without the protective buffer of retrospective knowledge or the comforting illusion of predetermined outcomes. This is why the past becomes so seductive during difficult periods. When current circumstances feel overwhelming, the mind automatically reaches for familiar territory, even if that territory is painful. At least the pain is known, mapped and survivable. We have proof of our ability to endure it because we're still here. The uncertainty of the present moment offers no such guarantees. But here's what reveals itself when you develop the courage to inhabit the present fully. Most of what you're avoiding isn't as insurmountable as your mind suggests. The anticipation of discomfort is usually worse than the discomfort itself. The uncertainty of not knowing what comes next is more manageable than the exhaustion of staying trapped in patterns that no longer serve your growth. What's more, presence reveals resources and possibilities that aren't visible from the vantage point of the past. When you're fully engaged with current reality, you notice options that weren't apparent when your attention was scattered across different time periods. You access creative solutions, recognize available support, and discover strengths you'd forgotten you possessed. The present moment isn't just where problems exist, it's where solutions emerge. Take Jennifer, a 28-year-old teacher who had been avoiding dealing with her student debt for 2 years. Every time she thought about her financial situation, her mind would either spiral into anxiety about the future or retreat into nostalgia for her carefree college days when money wasn't a concern. The present reality, that she owed $40,000 and needed to create a plan, felt too overwhelming to face. But when Jennifer finally found the courage to sit with her financial reality in the present moment, something unexpected happened. The situation was challenging, yes, but it wasn't the insurmountable catastrophe her mind had made it out to be. In the present moment, she could research repayment options, create a budget, and take concrete steps toward financial health. The past couldn't solve her problem, and the future couldn't either. Only present moment action could create change. The paradox of acceptance and action. One of the most profound realizations about living in the present is that it requires simultaneously accepting what cannot be changed while taking full responsibility for what can be transformed. This creates an apparent contradiction. You must simultaneously let go and engage more fully. You must accept the unchangeable past while refusing to accept an unchangeable future. The resolution to this paradox lies in understanding the difference between resignation and acceptance. Resignation is passive surrender. It says this is how things are and there's nothing anyone can do about it. True acceptance is dynamically engaged. It says this is the current reality, and from this foundation, I choose how to respond. When you truly accept that your past cannot be altered, revised or improved through mental effort, something remarkable happens. Enormous amounts of energy become available for present moment creation. The psychological resources that were previously tied up in the impossible task of changing yesterday become freed for the very possible task of shaping today. This isn't about becoming indifferent to your history or pretending it doesn't matter. Your past experiences contain valuable information, hard-won wisdom, and essential context for understanding yourself and your circumstances. But information is meant to inform action, not replace it. Wisdom is meant to guide decision-making, not substitute for it. Context provides background, not foreground. It helps you understand where you are, not where you must remain. The ripple effect of presence. As you begin to live more fully in the present moment, you'll notice that your presence affects not just you, but everyone around you. When you're truly present with another person, not planning what you'll say next, not thinking about what you need to do later, not replaying conversations from earlier in the day, they feel seen and heard in a way that's increasingly rare in our distracted world. This quality of presence is magnetic. People are drawn to those who are fully here because it's so uncommon and so nourishing. Your relationships deepen, your work improves, and your capacity for joy expands. You begin to notice beauty that was always there, but that you were too distracted to see. Moreover, living in the present allows you to respond to life rather than react to it. When you're caught up in past experiences, you often respond to current situations based on old scripts and outdated information. But when you're present, you can see each situation fresh and respond to what's actually happening rather than what happened before. The economics of attention. Your attention represents your most precious and finite resource, more valuable than money, which can be earned again, and more significant than time, which passes at the same rate for everyone regardless of how it's used. Attention is the only resource over which you have complete sovereignty. You decide where to invest it, how to focus it, and when to redirect it. Every moment of attention devoted to unchangeable past events represents an investment with a guaranteed negative return. The past cannot be improved, optimized, or enhanced through mental focus. It exists in a fixed state, immune to your psychological efforts. But every moment of attention invested in present moment awareness offers unlimited potential returns, new insights, creative solutions, deeper connections, and experiences of beauty and meaning that exist only in the here and now. Consider this stark comparison. Dwelling on past events is like repeatedly watching a sad movie that you've already seen dozens of times, paying for the privilege with your life force and peace of mind. Engaging with the present moment is like attending a live performance where anything might happen, where you're not just a passive observer but an active participant in creating what unfolds. The economic principle of opportunity cost applies directly to attention. Every mental dollar spent on the past is a mental dollar unavailable for present investment. Every unit of awareness tied up in historical analysis is a unit unavailable for current creation. The question isn't whether you can afford to stop living in the past, it's whether you can afford to continue doing so. Breaking the cycle of living in the past is maintained by the mistaken belief that thinking about past events will somehow change them or prevent similar events in the future. But research in psychology shows that rumination, repetitive thinking about problems without moving toward solutions, actually increases depression, anxiety, and stress while decreasing problem-solving ability and emotional regulation. The key to breaking this cycle is to distinguish between productive reflection and unproductive rumination. Productive reflection involves examining past experiences to extract lessons, understand patterns, and make better decisions going forward. It's time-limited, solution-focused, and leads to actionable insights. Unproductive rumination, on the other hand, is endless, emotion-focused, and leads nowhere except deeper into the past. Ask yourself, is this thought about the past helping me understand something useful for moving forward, or am I just replaying the same scene again? If it's the former, extract the lesson and move on. If it's the latter, notice that you're ruminating and gently redirect your attention to the present moment. The gift of now. The present moment is always offering you gifts, but you have to be present to receive them. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of laughter from another room, the satisfaction of completing a task, the taste of your food, the feeling of your breath moving in and out of your body. These simple pleasures are constantly available, but only to the extent that you're actually here to experience them. When you live in the past, you miss these gifts entirely. You might be physically present, but your attention is elsewhere, reviewing scenes that no longer exist except in memory. It's like being invited to a party but spending the entire time looking at photos from a different party you attended years ago. You're there, but you're not really there. The compound interest of presence. Just as compound interest makes small investments grow into large sums over time, the practice of presence creates compound benefits in your life. Each moment of awareness builds on previous moments, creating a growing capacity for peace, clarity, and engagement with life. At first, you might manage only a few seconds of true presence before your mind wanders back to the past. But those few seconds are valuable. They're proof that presence is possible, evidence that you can break free from the mental prison of bygone days. With practice, those seconds become minutes, and those minutes begin to transform the quality of your entire day. This isn't about perfection. You'll still find your mind wandering to the past sometimes, and that's completely normal. The goal isn't to eliminate all thoughts about the past, but to develop the awareness to recognize when you're stuck there, and the ability to choose presence instead, living your own life. Perhaps the most tragic aspect of living in the past is that it prevents you from living your own life. When you're constantly comparing your present circumstances to past experiences, measuring your current relationships against former ones, or defining yourself by things that happened years ago, you're not living authentically in the present moment. Your life is happening right now, not in the carefully curated memories of yesterday, not in the imagined scenarios of tomorrow, but in this breath, this heartbeat, this choice, this moment. Every second you spend mentally residing in the past is a second of your actual life that you miss. This isn't to minimize the impact of past experiences or suggest that you should never reflect on history. Our past experiences shape us, teach us, and provide important context for understanding ourselves and the world. But they should inform your present choices, not control them. They should be resources you can access when needed, not prisons that contain you. The path forward. So how do you begin to break free from the gravitational pull of the past? Start small. Choose one routine activity each day. Brushing your teeth, drinking your morning coffee, walking to your car, and commit to being fully present for that activity. Notice the sensations, the movements, the environment around you. When your mind wanders to the past, gently bring it back to what you're doing right now. Practice the phrase, "Right now, I am," and fill in the blank with what's actually happening in the present moment. Right now, I'm sitting in my chair, feeling the support of the cushion beneath me, hearing the sound of traffic outside. This simple practice anchors you in the reality of now rather than the phantom of then. Develop what you might call presence triggers, specific cues that remind you to return to the present moment. This could be the sound of your phone notification, the feeling of your feet touching the ground, or a particular word or phrase. Each time you encounter your trigger, use it as an invitation to notice where your attention is and, if necessary, bring it back to the present. The ultimate freedom. Living in the present moment is the ultimate freedom because it liberates you from the tyranny of unchangeable past events. When you realize that this moment, right now, is where your power lies, everything changes. You stop being a victim of your history and become the author of your present experience. This doesn't mean ignoring the past or pretending it doesn't matter. It means putting the past in its proper place, as information that can inform your present choices rather than as a prison that determines your present experience. Your past may have shaped you, but it doesn't have to define you. Every moment offers the possibility of choosing differently, responding newly, and creating something that has never existed before. The invitation is simple but not easy. Come back to now. Come back to this breath, this heartbeat, this moment of being alive. Your past has already been lived. Your future will unfold as it will. But right now, this precious, irreplaceable now, is where your life is actually happening. The present moment is not just where you find your life, it's where you create it. Stop looking backward and start living forward. Stop reviewing the past and start writing the future. Stop being haunted by yesterday and start being present for today. Your life is waiting for you. Not in memory, not in fantasy, but right here, right now. The question is, will you show up for it? The coffee in front of you is still warm. The people around you are still here. The possibilities of this moment are still infinite, but only if you're present enough to notice them, brave enough to embrace them, and wise enough to act on them. This is your life. This is your moment. This is your choice. Welcome to now.